All right, it looks like we are at the top of the hour now. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you all for joining me today. My name is Spencer. I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Cronometer.com. And so I have a quick presentation for you guys that I want to get through. And then we're going to be going through all of our gold features and a couple of more advanced features that are still available on your free account, but that I definitely want to make sure that you guys know about so you guys can all get the most out of your gold subscription. So just kicking it off here. What are we going to cover in this webinar? Well, I kind of just gave it away. We have this brief introduction here, and we're going to do that screen by screen demo, just so you're aware of all the things that we have to offer. And as we go, feel free to ask questions in the Q&A panel. There should be a little Q&A button in your webinar UI. Yep, feel free to type those as they come, and I'll answer them as we get through each section. So that being said, a little bit of housekeeping before we continue. So we don't give any personalized nutrition advice on these webinars. If you're looking for help with specific goals, highly recommend you chat with a healthcare professional, a nutritionist, coach, whatever. And as a matter of fact, we actually have a professional version that those types of professionals actually use in their practices. And so towards the end of the webinar, I'll show you where our pro directory is. So if you're interested in working with someone who uses Cronometer in their practice, this is where you can find them. We also don't talk too much about feature requests here in these webinars. After the webinar, you'll be presented with a survey. You'll have some space there to give some feedback on the webinar itself, and you'll have some space to talk about what we could do to improve your experience with the app. And you can always, if you see a question you like, you could always hit the like button. It'll pop to the top of the queue, and I'll answer it first. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to contact us at support@cronometer.com. We have a really responsive CS team, and they should be able to get back to you within a day or two. So, and like Kellen asked earlier, I post all the replays of our webinars on our YouTube channel. You search for Cronometer on YouTube, and they're usually a week to 2 weeks delayed, just as I can get them up there. But we do these every week, so the link that I sent you will get you into future webinars. So feel free to join in whenever you want. So the way I want to start our discussion today is, why use Cronometer to achieve your health and your fitness goals in this wonderful new year? We have the highest quality, most accurate data of any of the tracking apps that are out there. We've got a curation team that goes through and makes sure all of our data is as accurate as possible. They make sure that you don't see those duplicate entries that might confuse you as to which thing to choose when you're searching a particular food. And we also review all of our user submissions that come in to us before we make them public. So that way we never have any conflicting information, incorrect information, just to make that search experience for you that much better. Now we track over 80 micronutrients, which is a ton of data on food. And we have, and the way we do this is we work with a number of different databases, high quality databases that are essentially labs that are testing food. And so they get all the data, all the nutrition information that they can out of it. And we work with them and we put all that into our app, make sure that it's easy to search for you. And really what the app is built around is understanding that micronutrition information. We believe that that micronutrition information is the foundation of any healthy diet. And so we have, in addition, those built-in kind of data analysis tools that allow you to make sense of that data, not just on a day-to-day basis, but over longer periods of time. And we'll get into that later too. And again, because we focus on this foundation, things that are common to any healthy diet, you're going to find that Cronometer is customizable to just about any style of eating. So whether you're vegan, keto, or anything in between, Cronometer is going to be able to handle your situation. And then we have, and so security. So security is one of our principles here. We actually believe that you, the user, own your own data. We never sell that data to any third party. And we even provide you with a way to export all your data out of our system, delete your account, and and go your own way if you want. We obviously don't prefer that um, that option there, but we give it to you because we believe that you are the owner of your own data. We also um, pardon me. So we also use the latest in end-to-end encryption. We also have a two-factor authentication feature free on all accounts. So if you want to add some security to to your app, you can do so, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Um, so yeah, and I mentioned earlier, we have a professional version as well. Up here are a few of the organizations that we work with. We work with everyone from the small coach to trainer to nutritionist, all the way up to larger institutions who are doing clinical and academic research or using us in a hospital setting for their patients. And so again, I'll show you that pro directory. You can get a sense of some individuals that might be able to provide you with some tailored advice. Okay. So that is our presentation here. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our demo here. So we're going to be looking at both the web and the mobile app. So I'm going to demonstrate things on the web app, and I will also show you how to do the same things on the mobile app. So, depending on the platform you use, you'll be able to get done what you want to get done. So I see we already have a question in here. So, hi, what happens when you eat a product food that has negative carbs? Does that get subtracted against the carbs for the day? So, Marcy, I think if you can give me an example of that food, I can look it up and see what type of data we have for that. But in the meantime, I'll just continue on. So feel free to type that in and let me know what food you had in mind, and we can take a look at how we handle that. 'Cause off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but I don't think, because we often count fiber essentially, and so I don't think we actually would show it as negative per se. But if you have an example, we can look at that a little bit later. So, all right, so I'm going to assume that you guys have a pretty basic familiarity with the app. You know the parts of the app, you know the diary, you're familiar with how to log food. If any of you aren't, then I would welcome you to join our basics webinar that we do every Tuesday. You can join, I'll post the link in the chat in a little bit. But you can join us and just learn all the basics about how to use Cronometer and how to get the best data out of all the things that you're searching. But for the purposes of this webinar, I'm going to start with, with the assumption that you guys know what you're doing here. So I want to show you guys all the different things that you can do now that you're gold users. So to start with, you're going to notice in the food log area of the web here, I actually have a number of different basically meals or categories here, diary groups that you can now, that I have enabled. Now, I think when you upgrade, this gets enabled by default, but you can actually customize up to 8 different diary groups here. And to do that, you're going to go to the settings tab. You're going to go to, where is it, display. And then we're going to go down to diary groups. So as you can see here, we have a few different options. So you can choose whether or not to show these at all. And you can also choose to show subtotals in diary group, meaning you can see the calories for, say, lunch or dinner. So you can get a sense of the calories or other nutrients in a meal. And then down here, you can actually select group names. So you can come in here and edit whatever you like. You can set whatever categories you want. You can enable or disable things based on the template that you want to follow each day. So this is a great way to get organized. And if you're following a specific program that has you eating a certain amount of meals a day, and you can even track, exercises in one section, biometrics in another. Great way to get your diary organized. And up here, you can see there we have a setting. If you use a device like a Fitbit or a Garmin or other tracker, you can even choose which group to import all of that information into. So jumping back to the diary here, you're going to notice another thing that's different in the food log. And again, I think this is enabled by default, so you'll start seeing it right away. But we timestamp all of our data. So when I go to add a food, or any item for that matter, if I click on one, you can see over here, you have the ability to enter, shrink that a little bit, you have the ability to enter the time of day. So I can click on that, I can edit that here, whatever I need to do. And then I'll have that enabled. Now, by default, we'll say, okay, whatever the device time is. So if it's 4:09 here, that's what it'll show. I can always disable it if I don't want a timestamp. You can even choose which diary group you log that to. So let's see. So the next thing, once you add that item to the list, you're going to see that timestamp here on the left. So you can click on that timestamp if you want to edit any individual timestamp. But what's great about these groups here is I can right click on one of these groups and I can edit the timestamp by group, or within a group, sorry. So I can say, well, this happened at 4:02. And now all of those items are set to the timestamp that I set. So it's a great way to kind of, especially if you're logging at the end of the day and you do want to have that timestamp reflect when you actually ate, easy way to log all those things, or to edit all of those things. And it becomes really important if you're doing this with biometrics. Like up here, you can see I have blood glucose, blood ketones. And so what you're going to get when we get to our charting feature is you're going to be able to see those biometric data graphed down to the minute. So if you're tracking something that has a fine grain of detail, you're going to be able to see how things are changing maybe between meals or over time at different intervals. So it's a great feature, and it can be used in a lot of different ways. So my family text is going too. So let's see. So we have a question here. So not sure if it's something that we'll cover later, but I wanted to know if there's an option for suggested food pairings that you eat frequently. Olivia, yeah, we do have a feature like that, as a matter of fact. I don't know if it's exactly what you're looking at, but we will get to that. That's one of my favorite planning features that I'll tell you about in a little bit. So yeah, for sure. There is a place to track, yeah, there is a place to track blood glucose or ketones. As you can see, I actually already have some of that entered here. And that's very easy to track with Cronometer. We track those by default. So I'll just kind of skip around here and just answer that question. So you have the ability to add biometrics when you, yeah, I know what you mean, Paul. So this presentation is being recorded, and I don't blame you for wanting to watch the news right now. It's a little crazy out there. But yes, we'll be posting it up on our YouTube channel probably early next week. So yes, right. So like I was saying, Elizabeth, you have the ability to track a whole bunch of different biometrics in Cronometer. So I just clicked on the add biometric option here. And what you're seeing here is a bunch of different biometrics that we track out of the box. And I believe ketones, blood is one of those. So that's blood ketones. You can, change the units. You can enter in what that is. You even get a timestamp for those as well. And blood glucose is also another one that we track too. So this is all manually entered, of course. But what's really cool about our biometrics feature is if there's anything that you want to track that we don't have on this list here, you can actually create a custom biometric. So maybe, you're managing a medical condition and you have symptoms that show up after or at certain points during the day. And if you want to record those, you can. You can say, all right, well, my symptom scale is, let's say, it's a scale of 1 to 10, scale. And then the value, let's say I'm feeling like it's a 2 right now, which is great. Okay, so I'm going to cancel that. I'll just show you what I've already created these. So if I scroll down, I can actually, you can see some of the silly ones that I've created, but I have a pain scale. It could be, just nonsense here to demonstrate what's possible. But as long as you have a measure and an idea of what you want to track, you can log that stuff into Cronometer. And again, when we get to our charts feature, you're going to see how you can actually graph all that stuff out and see how the relationships between your diet and these biomarkers actually develop. So thanks, Elizabeth. I appreciate that. Cool. So getting back to that, so we just did timestamps. Let's see what else we got. So another thing that you're going to be able to do on your gold account that you can't do on your free account is when you add a note, you can actually attach images to any note that you log to the system. So let's see. So yeah, here you can see I have, what's this? I want to pick one that, okay, here we go. So for example, now you can see just a little ad banner that we have. So you can see that you can save this note and you can, again, timestamp it, add whatever text you like. But if you have, maybe you're taking pictures of your food for later recollection, or you're, just putting up an inspiring meme, all is possible with adding images to notes. And then let's see what else we got here. Yeah, so another one. So in the diary log, let's say, you can multi-select items by holding down Shift and clicking. But if you right click on those selected items, you're going to get a few different options here, but you have the option to create, as a gold user, you have the option to create a recipe from a set of selected items. So this is a great way if you are tracking and you eat a really good meal and you logged all the ingredients, you're going to make that again. Well, now you can quickly and easily save that as a recipe. And when we get a little bit later into the presentation, you're going to see how powerful this is when you're actually doing meal planning, something that I'll show you guys in a little bit. So great feature, real quick, easy way to create a recipe. Okay, let's see, is there anything else up here? I think we're looking pretty good. Cool. So scrolling down a little bit, can we share a meal plan with creating it as a recipe? So share a meal with a friend without creating it as a recipe. I think, Olivia, I think you're gonna have to, the only way so you can share a meal with a friend, but I believe you do have to create it as a recipe, because the way it works is we share, and this is a feature I was going to tell you guys a little bit later, but you can share all your custom foods and recipes with other accounts on Cronometer. You can invite them as a friend, and when you do, you both will have access to all those custom recipes and foods that you've created. And so you probably have to create it as a recipe. I'm not sure how else it would work. Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to do that. Anyway, so let's clear that one out. Then we have, sorry, scrolling down. So a couple things get enabled by default when you create, when you sign up for gold. Now you're gonna, and you'll notice them when you kind of look at your diary. One of the new sets of scores we show you is this nutrition scores section, these purple gauges here. So what you're looking at is basically, we realize that not everyone has a deep understanding of all the different types of functions different nutrients have and their importance in the body. So what we did is we actually grouped a number of different nutrients into by their function. So that way you can actually see how, at a high level, how your nutrition, the nutrition you're taking in, is actually supporting functions in your body. So for example, you can see here's immune support, and here are the selected nutrients for that score, and you can see how well you're doing on each one, and you can see your overall score. And this is something only Cronometer can do, because we are the only app that really has such a deep view of these micronutrients in your diet. And so this is a great way to get a high level view of your nutrition for the day, and you can customize these as well. So we're always adding new ones. So I have a number up here, and to get to those, to customize them, you can go to settings or back in display, and just below diary groups, you've got nutrition scores. And here you can see we have quite a few to choose from. And like I said, we're always adding more. I think we have another set that we're going to drop pretty soon. Back to the diary. So that's a cool little feature for you. You're going to notice over here on this widget, I have fast running. So as gold users, you can actually track your fasts as well. So I'll get to how to do that in a little bit. It's on another tab. But when you actually enable it and you set it up, you're going to have a widget that appears here on your diary to show you your progress through a current fast, or if you have an upcoming fast as well. And just on the mobile app, you can see that we show you that up top here as well. And so we'll get to how to create those. It's very, very simple. They are not enabled by default, but you can easily go in there and turn those on. So scrolling down a little bit more, we've got just at the very bottom. So these are all your micronutrients. You guys are probably familiar with that stuff. So down at the very bottom, you're going to now see a nutrient balance gauge, set of gauges down here. And basically what these are just highlighting some important nutrient ratios, to everyday health. And you can see probably the most common or most popular is going to be the omega-3 to 6. That's that first one down here. And you'll be able to see when you're in that green zone, that means you have those nutrients balanced in the right amount. And so you can basically kind of get a sense of how those things are doing throughout the day. Let's see, what else? I think that's going to cover everything on the diary page. Now let's go through the mobile app. I'll just show you how to access a lot of those. Oh, I did forget something. And this goes to a question that was asked earlier about meal pairings. So we have a suggest foods button here. It's maybe it's a little easy to miss. Pickles. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just reading a new question that came in, Marcy Stickle. All right, Marcy, I'm going to think about that one as we go along, and I'm going to try to see. It shows 0 instead of -1. I'm going to see what to do about, or what we do about that. That might be something I have to defer to our nutrition scientist. She can probably better explain why we do what we do and how we do it. John, yes, there is. I'm about to show you all that. That'll be really cool. So suggest food. So this is the button here. It's a really handy planning tool. Let's go take a look at it. Now, before we do, I do want to just point out, you can see how much progress on this specific day I've made through my macro targets and all of these different micronutrient targets too. Obviously, I have plenty of space, though some nutrients are more complete than others. Now, when I click suggest foods here, what's going to happen is I actually get a set of recommended foods that are now tailored to my remaining nutrient targets for the day. And so, for example, I have all foods selected here. This looks like it's still on vegan though. Yeah, so here we have a number of different foods. Basically, what we're looking at is these foods would be the best foods to eat right now in order to help me reach my nutrient targets for the day, and total nutrient targets, not just macros. So you can see spinach, if you ate the amount, let me zoom in here, that we list here, this is how much of your total nutrients that you'll get, and this is the macronutrient breakdown. You can also see some of the micronutrients that this is particularly high in. Now, let's say I like this food and I want to see it again in my recommendations. I can always like it. If I don't like it, I will click that thumbs down, it'll delete it, and it will remove it from the selection list. Now, if I want, and then clicking the add diary naturally will add that item to the diary in the amount that's listed here. Now, if I just want to get a bunch of different food suggestions, I can just click that X button and cycle through them as I go. Now, the other thing here is you'll notice that you actually have a couple different restrictions that you can use to select your foods here. So if I set it to vegetarian only, as you can see, I'll get vegetarian only foods. If I go vegan only, I'll have a bunch of different ones as well. So obviously vegan only foods. I can also exclude things like seafood, nuts, and dairy. And let's see, John, you asked me about whether or not to include recipes here. You can. So I have excluded my recipes, but you can turn that on. And let's see, actually, let me see if I can get that. Yeah, you can see this is a custom recipe DDF here that I have in, just kind of a throwaway recipe, but for whatever reason, because the nutrition matches my profile, it's showing up here. So you can actually get your own recipes, your own custom recipes recommended to you. So this is a great way to basically plan out your eating throughout the week. So if you're kind of planning out your diet, you have a meal plan, and you still are missing some things, you can always use this tool to kind of fill in those gaps, or just start from scratch based on your macro and micro requirements. So this is a great tool. Highly recommend you guys checking it out and using it. So John, I think I answered that. Cool. Oh yeah. So there's a few, John, there's a few recipes in our system that I don't know if we actually have the instructions on there. So you can cycle through that if you don't want to eat those, or if you can't, or if the instructions aren't actually in the in the notes section when you open up the recipe. So that is an oversight on our part. I think it's a bug, but we have to correct certain recipes in there. Yeah. So let me see. That's that. Oh yeah, Jonathan. So Jonathan asked, is there someone to read the history or methodology of how the app nutrients were determined? So the way we determine your individual nutrient targets is we refer to the Office of Dietary Supplements, which is a government regulating body that basically makes the recommendations for all the different nutrients based on your height, weight, age, and a couple of the factors. And so what we do is we take that information that you give us when you create your account, reference that information that is public on that website, and so, or that organization, and then we determine all your nutrient targets. Now we also know that many people have special needs, and you often want to customize your targets for your personal situation. That's why everything in Cronometer is customizable. So just to kind of do a quick review, if I click on one of these gauges for any of the nutrients that we're tracking down here, you can actually come in here and set on a custom value and then choose your thresholds for any particular vitamin or mineral. So that is that. Marjorie, can I set recipes to keep the keto diet? Yeah, so actually, so what'll happen, Marjorie, you can go, if you've gone to settings, targets, and in your macronutrient targets, if you use the ketogenic calculator and you have set that up, or even if you're using ratios or fixed values with like keto targets for your macros, what'll happen is when you use the suggest food feature that I just showed you, what'll happen is the feature will recognize that you have a much higher fat requirement for the day. And so it's only going to really recommend foods for you that comply with a ketogenic diet. So if you've set it up here in macronutrient targets properly, then your food suggestions should fit that diet. Now, if you haven't done that and you're curious about how to set your macronutrient targets, you can join us for the basics webinar where we go over all that basic setup and food search and all that other stuff on Tuesdays of every week. So again, I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'll post that in the chat in a little bit. Okay. So Marcy, I see your question. I'm gonna, towards the end of the webinar, I will look that food up. Oh, actually, you know what? No, I'm pretty sure I understand your question. So I think I'll have to defer to Karen for that. So Marcy, I will ask you to email customer support, tell them I sent you, and you can get that question answered by Karen, our nutrition scientist. What's the difference between the calorie summary graph and the macronutrient target graph? Oh, okay, yes. So good question. So Eddie, you're asking about calorie summary. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, so calorie summary. So this is calorie summary here, and this is macronutrient targets. So what the macronutrient targets tells you is how close you are to your overall target for the day. So this is 68 grams of protein. I'm about 78 or 70% of the way there. Now, my calorie summary, on the other hand, tells me just of the total calories I've eaten, which is 721 so far today, what is the breakdown? Okay, well, it's 66% fat, it's 26% protein, and 8% carbs. So all that means is it's just a reflection of what you've currently eaten, whereas these reflect your overall targets for the day. Cool. So yeah, so that is that. So now let's jump over to our trends tab. Oh, and actually, let me show you guys how to do all this stuff on the mobile app before I forget. So we're going to start by tapping the plus button here. So the add biometric, we'll start with that. You can see all the biometrics here. If you scroll down to the very bottom, that's where you can create your custom biometric. And I won't go through that specifically here. You'll also have your add note. Again, you can tap that picture icon, and you can choose to actually just take a picture with your device or upload something from your files. Then we have suggest food right here. So here you can see there are my suggestions. I can swipe through 5 of those, and I can just tap the X button to, cycle through. And I can also tap this 3-dot menu up here to set my exclusions or my food restrictions. Okay. And then there's actually some cool tricks you can do with your diary groups on the mobile app that we don't have yet on the web app. So you can see I can actually collapse these things, which is great for, if you want to save up on screen space. But you can also swipe these groups to the right and then tap that for an additional options menu that you can then take action on for all of those items. So you see you can add a group timestamp, which is that editing feature I showed you earlier, or you can create a recipe from that group. Again, great way to stay organized. Now, the other thing you can do is see these plus button or the plus icons next to each of these things. I can tap on that, and that will allow me to add something directly to that group instead of having to tap the plus button, add a food, and then choose when I'm actually adding the food. So that is that. And also, let me see if there's anything else here. Nope, that looks good. All right. So, whoops. Sorry, guys. Cool. So moving on, we're going to go to the Trends tab on the web app. So our Trends tab allows you a whole bunch of different it gives you a lot of different analysis tools to make sense of all this data that we're giving you over time, not just on the day-to-day. So I'm going to go over to Manage Charts here, just so you guys can get a sense of everything that we offer, and then I'll give you some specific examples of how it's used and what to visualize and all the things you can do with it. So here's our charts library. So what you can see is you can see our all the charts that we have built in, right? So you're going to get a sense of calories consumed, single metric, single nutrient, a couple different things we can do with these charts, which I'll show you in a sec. And you can enable or disable the view as you want. But what's really cool here is you can actually create your own custom charts, which allows you to basically graph any 2 variables in, yes, Olivia, we've had that request already, and we're working to get some better colors for our default color charts. You guys might see that in the demonstration here, but anyway, so you can basically graph any 2 variables against each other. So maybe I want to look at a nutrient versus biometrics. So I'll say potassium versus my ketones. So is there an effect? Maybe I can see a correlation there, maybe not. So if I save that chart, it'll appear in this area, and then you can edit or delete those charts in the future. So I've created a few already. We can take a look at those. So here we are back on the charts section. You can see, this is the calories consumed chart. You can see the breakdown of macros by those colors there and the total amount of calories that I've had. You can basically set any time frame that you want, or even a custom range, to see how that stuff is fluctuated over time on any of these charts here. You can also choose how to filter your days. So if you're not logging every day, maybe it's every other day or something like that, you can choose non-empty days. And what that'll do is it will filter out any day you haven't logged anything. As long as there's something logged, it'll be graphed on the chart. Now, we also have this feature called Mark Day Complete, which I'll just show you where to get to that. Diary up here, and there's a Mark Day Complete as the first option. Basically, that's just a way to flag a day as a day that maybe you've eaten everything according to the program or what have you, and it's a way for us to add this day as part of this filter on the charts. So, for example, I can choose completed days, which I actually don't think I have any for this account, but when you do, it's just another way to filter your data based on days you've actually selected for yourself. Now there's going to be a 3-dot menu over here on all these charts, and this gives you a number of different options. So you can actually print the chart out, or you can download a number of different files, image files for these things. You can even, this is the cool part, you can even download all the raw data from a given chart, in a CSV or a spreadsheet. So, and this is the cool part about fasting. So if I click on show fasting periods, you're going to see all these darkened bands here. Well, those are those darkened bands represent the time frames that I was actually fasting. And so you can visualize how your fasts are actually affecting various things um, in your charts. And you can do this on any one of those charts too. Our next chart here, is going to be our individual biometrics. So you can choose from any of the biometrics that we have created, or the ones that we have in, and you can see how those things might change over time. Our nutrient chart has basically your daily totals for each day, and you can see when you're hitting that target range represented by the green area there. And we also have the scores that I showed you before. You can graph those out and see how well you're hitting those things every day. The glucose ketone index, this is another chart that it's basically used for we've developed it for like the medical community to monitor ideal kind of therapeutic ranges for ketogenic diet. And then we get into my custom charts here. As you can see how different variables relate to each other on each of these time frames and over their respective axes. So you can get a sense for how these things might be related. All right, so we have a few questions here. And what's really cool about this, so for example, here's my weight, and I have a timestamp for that. And when I download that to a CSV, all that timestamp data will be there for you. So you can actually see how that stuff looks very, very granularly. Marcy, okay, well, I'll show you how to do the supplements in just a sec. I noticed the mobile app allows me to edit portion sizes of foods already added, while the desktop version does not. Actually, Graciela, you can do that. And let me show you how real quick. So on the item here, you have two ways to edit. First, you can click the number, which will change the amount. Cool. I'm glad I got it right. And then you can also click the unit, and the unit will give you a drop down to actually choose different serving sizes. And then you can adjust those accordingly. Now notice that if I change this to ounces, the number here, the amount, actually changed with that. Whenever you change the unit, we convert the old amount in the old units to the new unit in the old amount. So it's just something that's just the way we tend to convert things over. So, you're at least reflecting how much you are eating. And that's just the position that we've taken. So hopefully that works. Great. Cool. Sweet. All right. I'm glad. Cool. So I'll take a pause here to answer your question, Marcy. So we've got input your supplements. So you have a couple ways to do that. So before I answer the question, I just want to show you guys where you can get to your charts on your mobile app. You can do everything that I just showed you, except I think download files on your mobile app. But you want to go to trends, right? And as you can see, we have all our charts here that are enabled. Here they are. Now what I can do is I can tap on a chart to get a full screen view. And these vertical views aren't that great. So you can actually turn your device to the side and you can get a nice view of what that looks like. So that's great. And then if you scroll down, you can see all those options here, everything that you want to take a look at. And I can X that out and go back to the standard view. Let's see, and up here, if you tap on that 3-dot menu, you could go to manage charts and create any custom chart or anything here that you can do. So let's see. Okay, so I want to answer that question, Marcy. So the way you would enter your supplements that you're taking, you can go to foods, and you can go to custom foods, add food, and then you'd enter in the name, you maybe put a category, you could flag it as a supplement. You can type in the serving size, the grams, all this information should be on the label. and then enter in, you could click each one of these things, enter in each of the nutrients that it has. Even better, though, is if you use your mobile app, oops, you can scan a barcode. So this is really cool. Let me show you what it looks like here. Here's this barcode. Okay, check this out. So here's a barcode. Let's see. So I didn't see, so we scan the barcode. That food, because it's not really a food item, it's just a box of like paper clips. That food is not in the database naturally. And so what we do is we allow you to create a new food, but you can take a picture of a nutrition label like so. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I'm going to use that photo. And I'm going to go ahead and now you can see it says reading label, and now it says autofill successful. So continue. So now you'll notice we have all of the information from that nutrition label is now in the app without you having to manually enter it. So this is a great way if you have a food with a barcode that you can't find. This is how you want to enter it. It's so handy. It just makes life way easier. Now, for supplements, like say a multivitamin that has a super long nutrition label or something like that, it may not capture all the information because of the size of the label and the fact that it's not standard. So you could probably get some of it though. So I would highly recommend just going in there, taking a picture, uploading it, and basically you can fill in the rest manually if it doesn't capture everything. Yeah, so in the UK, so we do not necessarily capture, so I know it works with standard nutrition labels in the US. We're working on recognizing other labels as well. I don't know how good we are at it though, Daniel, and thank you for letting me know. I'll double check on how good we think we are at it, but cheers. And hopefully that improves for you. Is it never, do we have we ever imported it successfully, or is it just part of the time, Daniel? Sometimes. Okay, great. Well, yeah, we are always working to improve, so hopefully we get better at that. Cool. Let's see what else we got here. I'm just going to clear out a few of these things. So, Marcy, I hope that answered your question. Okay, cool. So there are a few other features. Let me just jump back up here that I want to show you guys. Settings. Oh yeah. So we talked about, while we're on the foods tab, I actually want to show you a trick to create your own meal plans. So I'm going to assume that you guys are familiar with custom recipes and creating custom recipes. You know, just you want to make a lasagna, you can put in the ingredients, all that kind of stuff. Well, what you can actually do here. So I have this one thing called Lunch 7, right? And so what this is, it's actually a number of different items that are, actually this is a bad example, it does not have that. Let's go to dinner 1. Okay, dinner 1. I have 3 ingredients in this dinner, but they're actually other custom recipes. So I have custom recipes within another custom recipe that represents a full meal. So now I can take that a step further and create a meal plan. So I have meal plan day 1 highlighted here. And what I do is when I add an ingredient, I'm adding those other meals I had previously created. And so now I have my breakfast, my lunch, and my dinner all in my meal plan. So as a matter of fact, do that, changes. And so now what I can do is I can go to the diary. I'll hop over to an empty day here and I'll go add food. And then I'm going to search for that meal plan I created. So there's my meal plan day 1. I'll go ahead and add that. Now, all of a sudden, by logging one item, I have all of my nutrition information filled out for the day, right? But it's not necessarily clear what I'm going to be eating. So let me go ahead and right click that. I have this option called Explode Recipe. And I click on that, and then it breaks up that recipe into the individual meals that I've logged to it. So now I can drag and drop into my, into my various categories. And then I can explode each of those recipes to see exactly what I'm eating for each one. And then if I have to, and maybe I make some changes during the day, all my food's logged, all I have to do is maybe change the amount or change the or change the unit. And so that is a great way, if you're planning out your meals in advance using this technique, you can just log your food in very little time. It's a great way to keep up on all that stuff. This is actually how I do it. I generally create meal plans, and then I'll log the meal plan, and then maybe make some edits throughout the day. Cool. So you can actually do that with a free account, but I just like to show it because it's a little not as obvious, and it's a cool feature. So that is my daughter waking up from her nap, if you can hear that in the background. So we have a few more analysis tools that I want to show you guys. So our nutrition report. So this shouldn't be new to you. It's on the free account, but now you can actually look at any time frame, custom time frames, and things like that. But you're going to be able to see all of your nutritional averages over time. So it looks a lot like the diary, but you're going to get a sense of how consistent you're being with hitting your long-term nutrition. And honestly, this is what's really important. Hitting those long-term numbers is what makes the big difference in your health. You have a few features here, like including supplements or not, so you can always tell how much of your food or your nutrition is coming from food versus supplements. And you can also filter on the various types of days that I described earlier in charts. Now, as Gold users, you're going to have the ability to create reports. So these are printable PDF documents that you can, email to a healthcare professional or just keep for yourself for your records. You can build the report here. So I've already enabled and created a number of different things. So I'm going to go ahead and hit print report. And this will allow you to see everything that we can put together for you. So just a little introductory page up top here. And then we have the nutrition report that I just showed you, kind of over the time frame that I selected. And then we have all of our nutrition totals. Any charts that you want to include, you can include those here. And you can see I have my fasting enabled. Custom charts. And then what we're actually going to do, I actually don't have a lot of food here logged. Oh, here we go. Here's one. So we actually we'll actually display all your individual food logs for the day and individual nutrient totals too. So you can get a sense of any specific day in that time frame. And you can include as much or as little of this as you want to share with whoever it is you want to share it with. So we also have snapshots. So this is another place where you can upload images, not just in the notes in the diary, but this is more of a centralized place. We built it for progress photos, but you can use it for pretty much anything that you want. So if you want to be storing different types of images there, you can. And instead of having to search through your calendar to find out what notes it's attached to, you can actually use this tab here. Let's see. So foods, we covered those. Settings. Oh, I want to show you guys fasting. So under settings, we have the fasting tab. You just go here to click this switch to turn it on. And then it's very easy to go and schedule a new fast. You can set up a name, set a duration, how often you want it to repeat. So maybe it's a daily intermittent fast or just a weekly or bi-weekly fast. You can set that to repeat. You can set the start and end date as well. And you can always modify that back and forth. And once it's created, you'll see your upcoming fasts, your scheduled fasts, and then you can have a whole history down here of all your different fasts. You can edit those or delete those if you need to, just so it's all very accurate. And then, like I showed you guys earlier, it'll show up in those charts, so you can really see how it's impacting you. We also have a feature called sharing. Sharing is... Here it is. Yes, it's just this top box up here. You can click on add a friend. And what you can do is you can basically send an invite to another existing Cronometer account. So you'll need to know the email that they use for that Cronometer account. And what it'll do, it'll send a friend request. Next time that person logs in on the app, they'll see that request. And if they accept it, that means both of you will now have access to each other's custom foods and recipes. So this is a great way for families and or just accountability buddies to kind of stay on track, share recipes with each other without having to necessarily recreate them in each account. So it's a great little organizational feature if that's something that you guys are interested in. So I always forget some gold features. So if I have, I apologize because there's so many. And so if you guys are wondering about anything specific, you can always contact customer support. But we have about 10 minutes left. I want to show you a few other things that are helpful for you guys. So if you guys have any devices, you want to go to the settings devices tab. And in the mobile app, it's just down at the bottom here. Sharing, you can see there's your friends, professionals, and studies. Oh, maybe I went too far. Hang on, sorry guys. We reorganized this recently, and where's devices? I am blind. Sorry guys. Oh, integrations, of course. So we also integrate with Apple Health. So if you have an Apple Watch or if you have like another device that's importing stuff to Apple Health, we can pull that in. So it's great for importing workouts from like third-party devices. And our devices, you can find those right here. Then we have our help tab. So this is a spot where, can we link a photo to a custom recipe? Oh, you know what? Paul, very good question. You can't at the moment. However, that is something that we're working on. Not quite yet, but basically what I would recommend to do if you wanted to do something like that, when you log it, you can attach the photo to a note there, but you can't attach the photo to the specific recipe on the custom recipes tab, but it's in the works. Cool. So then, what was I going to say? So on the help tab, we've got a couple different areas here that are worth calling out. I think, oops, I just connected Apple Health. All right. Yeah, so on the web, you're going to get more options just because they link to kind of some specialized pages. So we have our Cronometer University. That's our YouTube channel where you're going to get all the replays and some other stuff that we do on our YouTube channel. Find a professional. So this is the professional directory I was telling you about. So you can actually search professionals based on location. You can, based on their profession and their specialty. Oh, that's language. And their specialty and types of consultations they do. And you can kind of get a list here of search results. You can view their listings and you can get a sense of what they do and their contact details here. Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. That sounds familiar, but I don't know off the top of my head. Is that, oh, that's the app, right? I don't know. I don't know if that's on our list, but if that is something you want, we can definitely throw that in the survey so we can get that in our roadmap. I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Randy, you can totally see averages over time. So that's what the nutrition report feature does. So right here, I have the last 4 weeks selected. Now this account has spotty data. This account has spotty data, so it doesn't have it's not going to have a good looking long-term average. But what you can do, basically what this is doing is I can say, all right, last 4 weeks, how much energy am I getting to each day on average? How much protein, how much vitamin B3, all that stuff is the nutritional average, and that's in Trends Nutrition Report. So that'll get you exactly what you're asking for there. Gail, will I be able to integrate with Samsung Health? That is coming. It has been such a chore, and it's Samsung's fault. So we've been going back and forth with them for quite a while. And then they also changed up their app quite a bit recently too. So that is, I think, pretty much done. And we're going to be releasing that hopefully within the next month or two. So you will be able to integrate with Samsung Health. So just jumping back to the professional directory, no problem. Yes, you can find all the information on various physicians or professionals that you want to work with. Back on the help tab, we have contact support. So this is an easy place to reach out to them. Our user manual is a written documentation of all of our features. So anything you want, you can probably find there. Then you have our blog, which is mostly company news and maybe some tips for the new year right now. And we also have a pretty active community forum. We've had some users that have been with us for years. And so they're always very helpful. So if you have any questions, we even have some health professionals that kind of roam the boards as well. So you could always get some questions answered there as well. So we're just about out of time. If you guys, I'm going to stick around till the end of the hour if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, try not to try not to pay too much attention to the news today. I know it's harrowing, but you know, it is what it is. So thank you guys so much. Yep, I'll stick around if you have any other questions. But if not, thanks for joining me today, guys. I really appreciate it. Where do you set the energy target, Eddie? Oh, thank you so much, Paul. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah, what can I say? That's very humbling. I really do appreciate that. So Eddie, okay, Eddie, let's see. Where do you set energy targets? Okay, so you would go to settings. You would go to targets. Now your macronutrient targets is where you're going. So this is actually, yeah. Actually, Marcy, I'm going to answer this question as part of Eddie's question here. So basically what you can do is you can come in here and the way we determine energy targets is a couple of different ways. So we determine your baseline energy requirement when you sign up through the Office of Dietary Supplements reference that I mentioned earlier. So we start there. Then you come in here into your macronutrient targets, and you're going to set up how you want to break down your nutrient targets based on your caloric target. So ratios is what we use by default. And you can see, you can just set a ratio. And basically what that'll do is it'll control what percentage of calories is coming from each macro. So you can see with the 2-3-2 ratio, 29% from protein, 43 from carbs, and 29 from fat. Okay. Oh yeah, sorry. Let me do that real quick. Yep, you're right. I almost forgot. I'm just going to post to the chat the basics webinar information for you guys. Sorry, 1 second. I have ADD, Eddie. I apologize. I will answer your question, and I will continue. It's a fairly involved description, which we do cover in the basics webinar. So let me throw that up there for you. So much clicking. Okay, guys, that is the link to register for the basics webinar. Now back to the macronutrients. So this will determine your calories from each macro. And we have a couple different options here. Ketogenic calculator. You can set that up as well. I won't go into too much detail. Fixed values. Now this one you can actually set a specific energy target if you want, and that'll be fixed. It won't change, right? And then likewise with these gram amounts for each your macro targets. And the other thing you can do. So Marcy, this is for your question. Data points like body fat, BMI, etc. You know, Olivia, when you have, sorry guys, I keep getting pulled in by these new questions. So when you have, so this is a pretty easy one. I believe when you connect with your device and when you go to devices, so if I connect, I don't have a Withings set up. So if you connect here, you should be able to choose what data is being sent to Cronometer. You may have to do that here in this page, or you may have to do it on their end. I'm not sure exactly how that integration works with, because I don't use this device on a regular basis. So like I was saying, Eddie, so back to targets. So, and Marcy, this is for your question. You can track whether you okay, yeah. So basically, sugar alcohols are a sweetener basically for low carb diets. Or they're used in low carb diets pretty often. Some people do not count those towards their net carb total, but some people do. They tend to affect different people differently. And so I don't have any advice on what the right setting for you is, but I would look into it a little bit more, maybe see how your body reacts to them if you want to try them out. But basically, depending on the setting you choose here, we'll count those towards your net carb total or not. So the next thing, Eddie, to determine your overall energy target, if you've chosen one of these dynamic ones, like macro ratios or ketogenic calculator, obviously not fixed values, but you can come in here and in your weight goal, you can set a weight loss rate or a weight gain rate. And what that will do is actually adjust your caloric target based on the deficit you have to maintain to, say, lose a pound a week or something like that. So that will further adjust your total calorie target. And so that's the best way to reflect what you want to, depending on your goal, what calories you need to eat during the day. Those are the basic things. And if you're ever curious more, you can feel free to email us at support. Okay, we are just down to the wire here. I'm going to clear these out, see if any others came in. Hope that answered your question, Eddie. You selected all. Okay, interesting. So, Olivia, that sounds like a a bug. Please email customer support and ask about that, because they should be able to troubleshoot that with you. I would say disconnect and reconnect. Try that before you email. Maybe that fixes it. If not, please email support. We're going to want to know about that bug. Does your protein score change automatically if you lean body mass, muscle mass changes? So depending on your, so if you have ketogenic calculator or macro ratios and these are dynamically calculated, specifically ketogenic, I think you're asking about, Elizabeth, that will change. If you have your lean body mass change, so your body fat percentage goes down, you've logged that, we will calculate a new protein target based on the multiplier that's set here. So yes, it can happen if you've gone down in body fat percentage. That will happen, yes. Oh, sorry, if your lean body mass changes, that is, I should say. Thanks so much. Oh yeah, no worries, Eddie. I'm really happy to help. I really hope you guys get the most you can out of the app. All right, guys, we're just past the hour. I'm gonna hang things up for now. Stay safe out there. Take care. All right, guys.